That's a cat.
He knew we were starting, and he just had to make his cameo appearance early on.
Yeah, right. Are we good? Oh, yeah. Okay. Cool. Hey, the cat cameo appearance. Because that's the thing.
Yep.
So, welcome to another edition, sure, of Roll for Revelry. We have I think another player today, and basically what we'll be doing is kind of running through levels 1 through 5, and kind of just building up that backstory a little bit. Our last campaign ended at level 5, so we're kind of picking up at level 5 now. Still kind of learning the ropes so we can learn some higher level stuff. And as we all learn, we're definitely gonna share what we figure out and have fun doing it. So if you care to watch, cool. We'd be happy to have you. So that said, we have one of the players today, Gina. If you'd like to maybe introduce yourself, maybe introduce Narnip, the player you'll be playing, and then just kind of say where she came from and what she would be doing in town, because that's where we're going to be starting.
Okay. So my name is Gina. I started playing D&D about a year ago when this pandemic started. The character that I'm going to be building for this campaign is Narnip Ningle. She is a rock gnome. She'll be a rogue. She's about 3 feet tall and real tiny. She is pretty nondescript in terms of features. Comes from like a large family, and she's the youngest of that family. So she has grown up just like being ignored and forgotten pretty much her whole life. So she is in town today, running errands for her family.
Cool. Running errands. Awesome. So that said, what does Narnip look like?
Narnip's hair, skin, and eyes are all the same walnut brown color. She is like probably the most unremarkable person you've ever seen. Like if a police officer asked you to give a description, she would just look like the most generic mashup of a female gnome that you could possibly give.
Okay. Cool. So, moving forward, we have Narnip is currently walking down the city streets of the Anchor of Bryn. You see a fair amount of shops and everything. You are currently in the oh, come on. Sorry. You're currently in the North District of the city of Bryn. You've come down from the north, from the hills where your family resides. There's plenty of shops. This is the nicer part of the city as well. So the buildings are kind of on the higher side of the economic playing field, so to speak. So that said, there's a number of shops to go by. And did your family leave? How much money did they leave you?
My mother sent me out with 5 gold pieces to buy fabric so that she can make clothing for me and my 9 other siblings. And my father asked me to pick up a couple of tools to repair his farm equipment.
Awesome. So that said, there is certainly fabric shops and textiles, everything from fully done clothes to textile shops. The textile shops are kind of on the seedier side of town. You'll have to cross through the North District and check out the Priest's Valley, which is just past the park and the Citadel. So, kind of describing this place, you do see like you're within the walls of the city, but you see a second set of walls, and that's where the Citadel resides. And leading from a portion within that second set of walls are these huge chains. It's one link after another, and it's one giant chain. And as you look up into the sky, it's kind of daunting, and you kind of tilt your head back. There, you can see the base of one of the floating Isles of Tyrion. These, as you would know, are floating cities that were kind of created out of necessity and from the years past. But that said, you have again, you're on the kind of nicer side of town. You can certainly just buy clothing or try to buy clothing. There are some small shops around this side of town. There's kind of gadget shops. There's blacksmiths. If you wanted to buy like the goods to make your own tools, again, you'd have to go to a seedier part of town. But there's definitely a clockwork shop that has all kinds of golden gears and everything, and gilded machinery and whatsits and all kinds of whiz bangs and other words that aren't real words. So what would you like to do?
Right. My interest is really piqued by the ticking coming from the clock shop, and it's so shiny, and I've always really liked shiny things. I know my mom will be really mad at me if I come home without any clothes or fabric. So I muster up my willpower, and I need to go and make sure that I get what I need before I peek into this clock shop. But I definitely want to go back.
Okay. So if you can more than easily spend the next 5-10 minutes walking to the other parts of town that have kind of textiles and the such. I'm gonna jump into the. I'm gonna send you a map of the city real quick, because that seems like something that you would be you'd be privy to. All right, let me figure this out. Excellent. All right, so that just dropped into our live game notes that we share as a group. So if you want to check that out, you're more than welcome to. But right now, again, you're in the Northern District. You'll have to pass through the park to hit to the Priest's Valley, which is in the southern part of town, still within the walls of the city.
Okay. All right. I'll go through the park to get to the Priest Valley and grab what I need to make sure my errand is complete for my mom.
Cool. So as you head through the town, the park is kind of, there's benches. It's just basically meant to be a portion of greenery. Obviously, there's much more history behind Central Park, but it kind of has that feel where it's just kind of a greenery aspect within this walled city. So you head through. People have pets around there. It looks like a nice enough town. Everybody seems relatively happy. And as you leave that park area, you head into Priest Valley. Priest Valley actually, despite its name, doesn't look that impressive. There are a number of different temples that you walk past for the number of different gods. And most of these gods you would know and recognize, and particularly recognize as a benign aspect in some sense. So as you're heading down, does Narnip know this textile owner, or is this something that's going to be new
Her
to her?
mom told her that she needs to go to Miss Juliana to get her fabric.
All right. So again, she kind of gave you the rundown of where Miss Juliana works, and it is in the Priest Valley. So as you walk up, you walk up to where you're supposed to be at, and it's kind of like a rundown storefront and a shifted window, shifted sign up top. And the sign is just thread with a needle sewn through it. So there's no words or anything else on it, but a lot of that too, and especially the more impoverished part of town, you'll see just kind of one of those things like not everybody can read. So it's kind of just benefiting them. There's a creaky door. You want to head in?
Yes.
All right, cool. You do see over what is what are those machines? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking out. It's a textile machine, like
Sewing machine? Oh.
No, but like the
Loom?
big ones. Yeah, loom. Over loom, you see what was her name? I'm sorry.
Juliana.
Juliana. You see a older female mountain dwarf leaning over and hunching over the loom, sliding it back and forth, pressing the threads and the strands of fabric together to make these large chunks of textile. She has a black mohawk that kind of runs down into a beard. Kind of older wrinkles going on in her face, kind of beat up a little bit, but rugged, kind of brown skin. And yeah, she's hard at work. Does not notice you walk in.
I walk over to her and tap her on the shoulder to get her attention.
You scared me. Yes, you must be, what's your mom's name?
Mama Ningle.
Mama Ningle. You must be, one of the young ones from Mama Ningle. Ooh, that's fun / hard to say. Yes, she mentioned, one of you would be coming by. What can I help you with?
I need some enough durable, fair-priced fabric to clothe the 10 of us children for the year.
Okay, 10 children for the year? Excellent. We can probably make that happen. Durable. How durable are we thinking?
Well, all of my older brothers and sisters work in the fields, and they help with livestock. So durable enough for some strenuous farm activity.
Okay, that's fine. Some hempen material right here that'll do. Certainly. I didn't know if we needed any leather supports or any tough spots. So and she kind of pulls out and starts pulling out some yards of this. And she kind of pulls out. You're small folk, like you're gnomes, so it's not going to be that much. I'd say there's probably about a square yard of material for each of you. So she pulls out 10 of these full pieces, and she says that will be 10 silver or 1 piece of gold for you.
Okay.
All right, so, are you?
Does she have any shiny thread?
I can certainly check some things out for you if you'd like. Shiny thread. What? Any particular color that you're looking for?
A gold shiny thread?
Gold shiny thread. She does have some gold shiny thread, and she kind of like scurries past and goes into her like you can see the shelf laid out and it has all these cool spools of thread, and then she kind of like occasionally you'll see like the string that she's working with is this big huge spool down on the bottom of the shelf. And it's currently like lined up to the loom, so she's like pulling it, and as she's loom, As she's working the loom, it's pulling directly from this huge spool of thread, and it's clearly the mass things that she does. But up on the higher shelves, you see her get one of those scrolling ladders that you'd see in a library or in Beauty of the Beast, and she kind of slides it over and climbs up, and you see her, and she kind of she goes, "How much do you need?" And she's like looking down at you, and you're both small folk. Again, she's like 10, 12 feet up in the air.
And I hold up my hand and I go, "This much. This
Okay.
long."
You see her, she grabs onto it, and then she takes a few steps. She takes one step down the ladder, a second step down the ladder, and a third step down the ladder, and then she hooks it onto a blade that's up at the very top of the ladder, and it cuts it, and she kind of just walks down with it. A very yeah, that's a pretty cool trick. But she has this thread, and she kind of swirls it around. Make a perception check for me.
Okay. Mm-mm. 12.
Okay. She swirls it around and kind of holds it in front of you, and it kind of lays straight down for you. She hands it over to you, and she's just like, you know what? That one's on the house. Kind of hands it to you. Oh, hey, Kat. What's up, Tito? So she swirls about what is like about 2 feet of this gilded thread. It's not gold or anything, and it's gold colored, but it's still thread.
Okay. I put that in my pocket and put the rest of the fabric in my backpack.
All right.
And
Yeah. So.
see you next year.
Like, happy to see you. So, you are now leaving, walking out into the Priest's Valley. There are a number of temples around. You kind of get the picture. Are you looking for anywhere particular to go?
My dad told me for the farming tools to go see Mr. Clive, who's about a block and a half away from Miss Juliana.
All right. So as you head to Mr. Clive's, do you know Mr. Clive?
He has come out to the farm a couple of times to help my father with some repairs to his machinery.
What does Mr. Clive look like?
Mr. Clive is like an upper middle-aged gnome with a salt and pepper beard, a little bit of a pot belly. And he has like very calloused, rough hands. Like he's been working with farm machinery for his whole life.
All right. So you head down, and you can see that it's not quite like, it's not a blacksmith in the conventional sense. I guess it's more of a conventional sense because mostly blacksmiths were making like horseshoes and not as nearly as much swords and armor and everything else that you would imagine. So there's a number of tools, and it seems to be like that's what this guy's specialty is. But you can see that there's a small hearth, small forge in the back of this little shop, kind of wooden rail desk, but it kind of wraps around. You can see it's an open shop behind it, so it's kind of meant to be this counter-esque kind of mentality where you can actually greet people. So yeah, you see Mr. Clive walk up, this middle-aged gnome, kind of stroking his beard, and he's like, "Oh, well, I was told you would be arriving soon."
Hi, Mr. Clive. My dad wants these tools, and I hand him a list of things that my father's written down.
You see him put on these tiny, tiny glasses, super small, and kind of warps his eyes in a little bit. He just holds it up to the light and sees it. And, okay, and he jots it down. He said, "Well, if you'd like to come back, it's going to take me a little bit. I have to work on some of these tools specifically for his needs. But also, shouldn't be much to put together. So I'd say an hour.
Okay, I'll be back in an hour.
Oh.
And I like with a pep in my step quickly leave, and I want to go back to the clock shop.
All right, cool.
I was very intrigued.
Cool. So you head back to the nicer parts of town, and you kind of head up to this Gears clockwork shop that you see, and it's kind of has this big bay window front, and there's this spinning like contraptions and toys and that kind of stuff, all in it, and these big double doors, and it's kind of just on the corner of one of the streets. You just barge right in.
I don't barge in, but like I open the door, kind of like everything's very fancy, and I'm very aware of my really worn-in year-old homemade hemp clothes.
Yeah.
So I feel my element, and I trepidatiously kind of like open the door very quietly and walk in.
Cool. As you walk in, the door hits this this lever as you walk in, and you see these gears go, and it kind of like has this a Rube Goldberg machine kind of mentality of these gears flicking and whizzing and everything, and then all you see is just this bell in the middle of the room, and it's a super small bell, but it's hanging from the middle of the room, and it goes ding. So whereas like you could easily have just put the bell on the back of the door, it's much more complicated than it needs to be. But nobody responds. You do see one counter, and on the counter, there's the cash register. There's a couple different displays of some kind. There's like a little pamphlets on tinkering and that kind of stuff, because it seems to be kind of like a newer thing, and like, yeah, you want to get people into it, I guess. Not everybody goes around buying clockwork gadgets, especially that they're not really viewed as useful. I mean, there's magic in the world, and there's certain things that magic can do much easier than a contraption. But on one of those displays, you see a glass dome, and it's a small little bird, and it's a clockwork bird, kind of crouched, like nested down, and it's underneath this glass kind of, again, Beauty and the Beast kind of rose dome thing.
Okay. I'm gonna go remove the glass dome, and I want to hold this beautiful bird.
Okay. So as
I
you
want to
remove
take
the
it. I
glass,
just want to hold it.
you know, you're gonna take it.
I'm gonna take it. I just want to look at it.
Okay. So as you are looking, as you open up the dome, you hear underneath what seems to be like the base, you hear in all these like whirs and ticks, and the bird pops up and keeps popping and like looks over, and you holding out your hands, and it pops and sits in your hands.
I'm like so delighted and charmed, and just like giggling to myself as I'm holding this little bird.
So it's just kind of hopping around, and yeah, kind of nestles in.
Can I do an investigation check on it?
For sure.
Like very intrigued to try and figure out like how it works. I rolled an 11.
An 11. You know, obviously you know that it's clockwork. You know that it's kind of wind up in some sense, so it will probably stop eventually. It depends on like how those gears and what kind of tension is being held, and how the force and the power kind of moves throughout it. Obviously, the more actions it does, the less it's going to, the lower the longevity of its wind is. As far as like how the gears are put together and how it, like, there are like these metal delicate wings that kind of hide the gears within, and the breast is kind of like this big robin's breast, but it has like a glass dome, and you can see whirling gears on the inside of it. And it moves like really like it's surreal how almost lifelike it is, but you can't seem to figure out how it. You wouldn't be able to put one together right now.
Okay. So I'm just like staring at it in wonder, and I say out loud, "How does this work?" Um,
And
and then
nobody seems to be around.
I'm gonna put the bird down and continue to just like look around for other things that pique my interest in the
So,
shop.
You go to set the bird down, and as you set it down in its case, it hops out and it's following you.
What?
Elsewhere in the shop, there are other gadgets. There's big gears on the wall. There's other things, and everywhere you go, this bird seems to be following you and hanging out.
That's so cute.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna name it Chirpy.
Chirpy.
Yep.
All right. Um, are you trying to check anything else out in the shop?
I'm gonna go as I'm like walking around. I'll end up at the counter looking at the pamphlets on tinkering because I'm very interested in like how Chirpy is working.
So you look at one of the pamphlets. Roll an investigation check, or roll an intelligence check, basic intelligence check.
Okay. 13.
Um, it like the pamphlet is very. It's like a sepia kind of material. And it's written on the front. It says like introduction to tinkering with coppers, gears, and other gadgets. And you go to open it up, and it is super complex. It's weird. It's like not a great thing to be a pamphlet because it's like, oh, well, if you'd like, you need to start to learn these kinds of mechanics and these types of practices in terms of physics. You'll need to understand these both kinetic and potential energies and how they work and how they can transfer between different materials and different gadgets, different sizes of the gear, how many teeth are working with each of those gears, how the gears and what angles they're going to, and it just keeps going on and on and on. And you're like, this is a lot.
Narnip's eyes glaze over and she sets the pamphlet down.
All right. Yeah. Doesn't seem to be anybody else in the shop.
Narnip's gonna let out just like a very timid "Oh."
Nothing in response.
Is there a back room, like a door that Narnip might see that would lead to another area of the shop?
Yeah. There's definitely there's this like staircase that kind of heads up to what would be probably a loft or a living quarters. Behind the desk, there's another door, and you can kind of head back, and there's definitely a back room of some kind, but can't see it from here.
Okay, I'm gonna go in the back room first.
All right, cool. So you head to the back room, and the door kind of is locked.
I'm gonna turn to Chirpy and say, "Do you know how to open this door?"
And he hops up, and you can see he just hops up by your feet, looking up at you.
Okay. Well, that's not super helpful, Chirpy. I'm gonna. My siblings try and lock me out of their rooms all the time, and I'm gonna try and pick this lock like I pick the locks on their doors.
Make a dexterity check, and then add your proficiency modifier for me for your thieves' tools.
Okay. Roll great.
What was it? I'm sorry.
And
10.
yeah.
So you notice that there's not any like real tumblers. It's just really like this most simple aspect of a lock where you're like you just have to go and then the key flips back the lock itself. So there's not like a set thing. It's just like it could open up with a key that is just straight and flat on one end. Tito. So you are able to open the lock, and it kind of pops open, and the door kind of, and it almost seemed like the door was kind of holding the lock was holding the door shut in some way.
Okay. I go in the back room.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, after you.
In the back room, you can see a workbench, and there's these lights and these lanterns that have like magnifying glasses in certain parts of them so that you can really see into it. It really lights up the room. There's what looks to be a half-finished clockwork device on the counter on the workbench. There's a bunch of series of gears in little shelves and little cubbies and like almost like an apothecary style kind of wall where there's these all little cubbies of all different types of little gears, and they're very disorganized. You can tell there's some that are just missing drawers entirely. The drawers are on the ground. There's scattered bits. It seems for such a delicate practice and in such a delicate way, it seems like everything is kind of this strange part of organized chaos.
Okay.
Like nobody, you or I, in real life wouldn't be able to sit down and make any sense of any of this, but like this all makes sense to someone.
Okay. All right. All right. So not really seeing anything super like shiny or eye-catching. I'm gonna leave the back room and go to check out that door behind the counter.
Okay. So as you leave the back room, you come face to face with a old gnomish woman, and she's like kind of got these like giant glasses, and you can see her eyes, and she's got this kind of graying hair, and she seems very quirky, and she has this kind of vest on, and in the vest there's all kinds of little tools and calipers and such. And she goes, "Thief, thief, thief! There's a thief here! You're not a thief. Are you borrowing or are you taking? If you're borrowing, you must give it back." "Yes, in the back. I was working. Working. To operate and function especially properly and effectively. Sending stones work effectively at their highest point. The highest point, that's it! Come, I'll show you." And she just grabs your hand and takes you into the back, and it seems like she had this strange spark of you did it, and you brought this inspiration upon her, and she starts tinkering with the half part that she had done. She grabs the second part, puts it together, twists, and it locks into place.
How did you do that?
What do you mean? I did nothing. You did it.
How did I do that?
Yes, you did it.
How? What?
Did you do it?
I don't think so. I don't know how to
You.
do it.
Who are you? What are you doing here, thief?
No, I'm not a thief. I didn't take anything. You can search my backpack. The only thing that's in there is a bunch of cloth for my siblings to make clothes. I saw.
She snacks your backpack off of your back.
Okay. Really,
She starts rummaging through it and takes. It's like almost like a magic trick up your sleeve kind of thing, or like it's this yards and yards and yards of hempen material for all of your clothes. And she goes, "Oh yes, well what is this?" And she reaches in and shows the bird that had to have hopped into your bag somehow.
Oh, no. I didn't. I saw it and it was beautiful. And then it hopped into my hand and I was so charmed. And then I tried to put it back and then it kept on hopping and following me. And I named it Chirpy. And I didn't put it in my backpack because I don't steal things. One time I stole an apple.
Stolen this Chirpy. You seem to have stolen this Chirpy.
I didn't steal it. It hopped in my backpack. I promise.
Oh, like these things can just come to life and hop into your backpack.
Watch, put it on the floor. It will hop and it will follow me. I will show you.
She goes to put it on the floor, and it is tips over.
Oh. Chirpy. I'm going to walk a couple steps back and clap again and try and call it to reanimate it.
Make an intelligence check.
Okay. 5.
You have no idea why this thing will not come to you. You're baffled, and you're like, I am in trouble. I mean, you can tell us how you feel.
My mom's going to kill me.
Well, thief, you you haven't left with it, so I guess you're only half a thief, a bad thief. Words. What word would that be? A half a thief, a bandit? No. Anyways, well, you'll have to pay for what you've borrowed or stolen. What you've stolen.
I don't have any money. I have to go and get my farmer's tools for my dad. Do you need help with something? I'm a very good worker. Sometimes you can ask my sister. Sometimes I help her with things because she says I have really small hands, so I can get in like the really tough spots of the chicken coop and help clean it out. So, and it looks like there's a lot of tiny things here. Do you need my tiny hands for help?
Help. You could help me, help around the house, help around the shop. You're shopping today? Okay, yep, help works. It's a fine payment. I will see you on the 2 days from now, and then every week. And then she just turns around and walks away and goes back into the room and slams the door.
What's your name? Oh, okay. I'll see you in 2 days.
There's no response. She's just left.
Okay. Bye. And I quickly leave the shop and make my way back towards Clive. Pick my stuff up.
So you go to meet Clive, and sure enough, you are greeted by him after that time period. And he's like, "Well, promptly on time. Here you are," and hands you it's kind of like this burlap bag, but it's kind of clinking around with all these strange tools in it. Anything that would be sharp kind of has an extra wrap of burlap around it with inside the bag.
Okay. I'm gonna toss it over my shoulder and leave the city and head home.
Cool. We'll assume you paid for the tools.
Yeah. Yep. I gave him the rest of my gold.
Yeah, no worries. So as you get home, you get home, you greet your mother, you greet your father. They're like, "Oh, do you have the tools for?" Or he's like, "Oh, do you have the tools for me?" And she's like, "Did you get the textiles?" And it was just kind of like an immediate rush of like, "Did you get what we needed?" And you give them what you need, and then as you're going through your backpack, you do see Chirpy sitting there.
What? Chirpy, why did you sell me out like that? Now that lady thinks I'm a thief because you wouldn't do what you were doing.
Chirpy hops out of the bag and then hops up on your shoulder, and then just kind of nests in.
And I pet him and I say, "I can't be mad at you." I take him up to
You take him where?
my room and I hide him because my siblings will try and steal him.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna kind of take a little break. We're gonna basically pause there, and we're gonna do like a little montage of you working in the shop. So as you're working in the shop, So tell me what I don't know if there's a song that you are montaging to, or what are the screens that you would see in a movie montage of you working in the shop and learning to tinker.
All right. I see. I'm trying to remember what name I gave her. So I see the old little lady gnome, with her crazy thick glasses, kind of like leaning over my shoulder as I'm trying to like with a screwdriver put things together, and then like the thing I'm working on just collapsing and me being like, and then her like patting me on the shoulder. um, and then us like having tea and laughing together. And then me helping her like tidy up her workspace and being like, oh, see, this is like more organized, and now you know where your gears are. And then me at like the last frame of the montage, the thing I was working on in the beginning that collapsed, turning the screw and it like starts to turn, and then we were both like, yeah.
What is it?
It is a it is one of those cat clocks with like the eyes that go back and forth and the tail that swings.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yep.
Cool. So you've successfully made a cat clock and a friend. In your background that you wrote up, you named her actually, and her name is
You did.
Bimpnotten, Mrs. Bimpnotten.
Yep.
I believe. So yes, we will. As we kind of did that fast forward, we're gonna take a short, like 2-3 minute break. I just need to get a glass of water because this is talking.
Okay. Break.
We'll see you soon. Stick around. And so the and why doesn't DiGiorno just call it Canadian bacon? Like every frozen pizza that I've ever gotten has been like Canadian. They call it Canadian. They call it bayo. Oh, it'll be bacon on the pizza, but it's always Canadian bacon instead of like actual bacon. Someone should call Canada. Um, it's just ham. So moving forward, we have moved past our little montage, and we have Narnip leaving Mrs. Bimpnutton, her little shop. Bless you. Her little
Yep.
shop, and as you're leaving, it's like nighttime. Probably go to. You can go home. There's taverns about. There's inns about. You can do. You're a little bit older. You're not quite the young little girl anymore. Kind of. I don't know. How old are you? How old are you now?
I am now 23.
All right. So still young in terms of a gnome's eyes, but you know, adult enough. Um. So, what would you like to do in the city, the Anchor of Bryn?
No, just had a really good day. I'm like feeling energized. I'm like, I don't have to be up to plant tomorrow. So I think I'm gonna go to the tavern and like I haven't really ever been to the tavern by myself. And I heard it's like really cool and I wanna go have a beer by myself and talk to people.
All right. So you go to have a beer by yourself and talk to people. Um, you walk in. Where do you walk into? What's the name of the tavern?
The name of the tavern is the Sloppy Beer.
The Sloppy Beer.
Yep.
They weren't real original with that one. They were just like, let's call it what it is. So when you walk into this kind of divey style bar. It's definitely the sloppy beer. There is a bar rail to your right, a handful of seats on it. There's a handful of tables off to your left, and about a 20 by 20-foot room. There's some servers walking around, barmaids kind of dropping off glasses to other places. It's crowded. It's a busy night for sure. And as there's some hearths that are lit on the farther side. There's big barrels behind the bar. They're pumping out beer. Seems to be beer-oriented bar specifically. So, what would you like to do?
I'm going to go up to the bar, and I see that there's a little open stool, and I'm going to try and climb up and perch myself on the stool so that I can be seen above the bar by the staff.
Cool. So you go up to the stool and you jump up on your knees onto the stool so you can look over it. The stool that is available right now is not a gnome or halfling stool. It's a normal size stool, so you're struggling a little bit, but there are gnome and halfling size stools. There just seems to be all taken up, so you're doing what you can with the best that you can. So as you how are you gonna get the bartender's attention? Busy.
Start waving and go, hi.
Roll a charisma check.
Six.
You if they did see you, they certainly didn't give you the time of day. It seems to be a very you don't even know if they saw you. It might have just been one of those things. It takes a little bit before they end up getting to you. They eventually get to you. It's their job, And you have earned a little bit of coin. As Miss Bimpnaughton has been able to pay you a little bit after you've made up for stealing Chirpy from her. She still calls you half thief, but it's more of a sign of endearment right now. So the bartender walks over and finally is able to pour you a pint. Yeah. Is that what you want, as a pint of beer?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is the biggest container of liquid I've ever held. This is exciting.
Cool.
Yeah.
You go for it? You drink.
I drink it. It's great. It's
All right.
Donald's glass. I'm just like,
yeah. So how long are you in the bar? How many do you have?
I'm feeling pretty rosy cheeked after my first one. And I decided to try and talk to the people sitting to my left.
Cool. To your left, you do see a normal guy, human male, sitting at the bar, doing his thing. He seems to be scrawling on some small pieces of paper, but that's it. You just interrupt him and say, "Hey," but
I'm gonna go, hey, what are you writing?
I'm writing notes. Takes a sip of his beer.
What?
You must know I'm writing notes about what I plan on doing tomorrow. It's my to-do list.
What are you planning on doing tomorrow?
He's kind of annoyed, but he's gets it. He's like, I'm got to do a couple things. I've got to, take the hounds out. I've got to take care of the horses in the stables. Out of the norm and ordinary things I have to do, I have to run back into town and pick up a few things. I've got to pick up some horseshoes. I've got to get some other things made for me, and it's really it.
Have a farm?
I have a farm of sort. We host a number of beasts of burden for anybody that wishes to travel outside of the city. As you know, being an anchor of Tyrion, the city of Bryn has a handful of adventuring folk and shield hands coming in and out of the city. You know, the city hires them to do whatever they need them to do, and they go out and do it. But the best part is it keeps my pockets full, and they always need a horse or two to carry themselves or whatever else they need to do. So seems like
I buy you wonderful pints. Will you tell me about the most interesting traveler you've ever rented a horse to?
sure. And he lets you buy him a beer, and he is he's telling you a story of how he rented these horses to this band of adventurers that were going to visit a hag in the woods, and that the hag apparently was taking children from the city, and that they were going to stop her, and he kind of keeps telling this story, and as he's telling the story, as he's getting like good parts of it too, and he kind of gets into it too after his other beer, you see somebody barge in between you both, and he sloshes his beer around, and he's kind of sloshes it over the notes and sloshes it over you a little bit, and he's yelling at the bartender. He's like, "Hey, give me 5 more rounds. I need it for my table. 5 more." And the bartender kind of rolls their eyes and kind of goes and starts to pour the beers. Get out of the way, little one. Kind of nudges you a little bit.
Excuse me, sir. That is entirely unnecessary. I was sitting here, and you have just spilled your beer everywhere, and we were having a conversation.
Sitting here. You're barely sitting at all. Look at you. Get those drinks here for me, please.
You're rude, and Narnip is getting angry. He feels very insulted.
You're clearly sitting at the wrong table and the wrong bar stool anyway, little one, so I'm not sure if you're in the right place either. And he kind of turns his shoulder over past you.
You poke him on the shoulder. What do you mean by that? What would the right place for me be?
Anywhere but here. And he keeps looking down and he has his shoulder turned over to you and just keeps looking over. And he's just not really giving you a minute of his time. He seems to be a little prejudiced of your folk, and they, yeah.
I'm gonna poke him again.
And you're like poking him in the side. It's not like on his shoulder. It's like down here in the kidney. And he's like, that tickles, cut it out.
Narnip's gonna say, do you have a problem with gnomes, or are you just a drunken buffoon?
Well, I'll tell you this much. They don't belong here. Before the gnomes came back into this town, this was a good town. And now you've gone and ruined it.
How did we ruin it? You're ruining it by sloshing your beer everywhere and yelling at the bartender.
I'm yelling at the bartender to get drinks. It's kind of what you do. It's how you get beers.
I didn't yell, and I've gotten beers, and these are the first beers I've ever gotten. So I think that I could teach you something, and you need to have some manners. I don't know where you grew up.
First beer
you should have some.
Oh, you're funny, and he tussles your hair and then turns around.
I am 23, and you, based on the amount that you're drinking, sir, and you're a human, you're probably going to be dead before I'm even middle-aged. So.
Okay. And he gets the beers from the bartender, and he takes the last of whatever the one he was drinking and pours it over your head.
Oh no. No.
You are covered in
Narnip.
beer, and he turns around and he grabs his beers and he's heading towards the table.
All right. Narnip's seeing red, and she's gonna go into like a little bit of a rage blackout. And all of these past memories of her being ignored or belittled or locked in the cellar accidentally and forgotten about by her older siblings for a day just come like flooding back. She gets off her bar stool and walks up behind this man, and she stabs him underneath the ribs in his back.
Make an attack roll with advantage because he doesn't see you coming.
Okay. $16.
16 hits. Roll d4 for your dagger. And then a d6 because you have sneak attack damage. So if you have advantage on any of the rolls, and you would have sneak attack advantage, or you would have, if you have advantage, you'll have sneak attack, which means you'll get to roll a number of d6 extra on top of your normal damage in the future.
Okay. So my dagger was a d4 plus 2, and I rolled a 4, so 6 for that.
Uh-huh.
And then d6 is 4.
So 10.
Yeah.
You reach up and you stab him right underneath his right arm, and I don't know if you know this or if Narnip knew this or not, but you placed it right in his lung, and as he tries to let out a gasp, nothing comes out, and he starts to stumble and fall down. What are you doing?
Narnip's gonna pull the knife out and place it back on her belt and leave the bar.
Okay. Roll a stealth check.
She did know where to stab him, and I rolled a nat 1, so I rolled a 7 total for stealth.
As you kind of sneak past and you go to like step back and get out of the bar, you're not unnoticed. Some people saw you they see you leaving the bar hastily. I'm not sure if anybody was paying attention to your stabbing, but all of a sudden you see this person leaving really fast, and you have a pretty high passive perception. You notice that the individual that you were talking to at the bar sees you leaving in like a strange look, and then a commotion erupts behind him, and you are walking out the door. Like he sees the back of your head leaving, and he turns around and sees that this large guy has fallen to the ground and seems to be bleeding from his side.
Okay. Narnip's gonna like duck into a side alley and like catch her breath because her heart is just like pumping out adrenaline right now. She's thinking, "Oh my god, did I do that? Am I gonna go to jail now?"
Make a perception.
I do. Shouldn't have done that. Dirty 20.
Dirty 20. You notice that there are two individuals that are hooded across the street that saw you walk out. They're hooded in cloaks, and they saw you walk out.
I try and quickly run away from them because I'm convinced that they are guards and they're going to arrest me.
You head down the alley. They don't follow. And you're running away from them, so you're not looking back.
I'll take a glance over my shoulder.
Make another perception check for me.
16.
You see two individuals, not cloaked, but they're wearing matching colors of red and gold. run past the alley towards the tavern and that you were just in with hands on their hilts of their swords.
Oh no. Okay, so those are the guards. I need to run faster to get away from here.
We'll say you know the area enough. You get out of town. You're able to go home. And some time passes. Do you ever go back to the city, or are you still working for Mrs. Naughton?
I don't have to go back for like a week.
Okay. So we'll say a week later, as a week dies, if the commotion dies down. Next time you are at Mrs. Naughton's, you go to work, and there's an individual on the alley next to the store as you're going into work, and nods you over. There's a cloaked individual next to the alley, in the alley.
I recognize the cloaked individual as the cloaked individual that was watching me after I killed this man.
The cloak's the same. I'm not sure if you with a hooded individual like that in the dark and at night in tavern. I mean, you have dark vision as a gnome, but I don't know if you would have noticed their face or remembered it a week later, especially with the adrenaline pumping. But you recognize the cloak.
Ugh. I've had like a guilty conscience all week. Haven't been sleeping. Just the shame of what I have done is weighing on me. So if this is a guard, I guess I'm just going to turn myself in. I think as I walk over to the individual with kind of my head down and hi.
You lift your head and you say hi.
Yeah.
All right. As you lift their head, they go, "Well, hello. While you may not wanted us to notice, we noticed very much what you've done last week."
Are you here to arrest me?
Arrest you? No, we're not here to arrest you. Actually, we have been watching you for some time, and you have a unique character about you, and we believe that your skills could come in handy. If you're ever looking for some coin, we'd be happy to hire you.
What skills? I don't my tinkering skills. I'm not that good. I can repair some clocks, but
Well,
what kind of clocks do you
I
have?
think you're humbling yourself a little bit. We certainly do have some need for skills that a tinkerer would be great at. But that said, you seemed to dispose of an individual very quickly and leave the area without being caught. And not many can do that without years and years of training.
Well, my dad had me help with killing pigs on the farm, and that man was acting like a pig, so I just treated him the same way that I would have at the farm.
Well, not only would your tinkering skills help out, but let's just say we have pigs to kill as well.
How you said gold? How much gold are you talking?
More gold than you've ever seen.
Okay.
Meet us here in this alley 1 week from now. Still go about your business as if nothing else has happened, and we will reach out to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to do in the week?
I want to talk with my tinkerer mentor.
Miss
And
Naughton?
yeah.
If you want to change that to a name that you can remember, you can do that too.
probably should. Bimnaten. Yeah. She's hasn't guided me astray yet. She's like very flamboyant, but she has always given me like good advice and helped me. So I'm gonna ask her. I'm not gonna tell her like everything, but I just kind of like want to get some of her advice.
Yeah. What do you ask her?
So, Naten, I got approached for like a job opportunity that I'm kind of intrigued by. I could make enough money to really like take care of my family. I could like leave the farm, and I'm feeling kind of like scared. And I also like am like, I don't know if the people are like super good or not. I don't know if I should just like stay here where I know I'm safe and like things are good, or if I like spread my wings like Chirpy and like go explore.
Well, one can only be wound up so far before they need to fly.
Okay.
You fly. If we could make you fly, you could fly away. You wouldn't have to run. You could fly. And she just kind of is this weird, absent-minded, kooky old lady.
Okay. If not, and we'll miss you so much though. If I do leave, can we stay in touch?
Yes, miss her hit. Miss her hit.
What do you mean, miss her hit?
Miss her hit.
Okay.
She's tinkering while you're talking to her, so you don't have her full attention. And I don't know if you ever truly have, even if you like grabbed her face and looked at her. I don't know if anybody's ever had her full attention.
Okay. Well, if not, I will stay in touch with you because you have taught me so much and have meant so much to me. So I won't forget you in my travels.
Okay. Just kind of.
All right.
Take these. You'll need them. You'll take these. You'll need them. She hands you some tinkering tools.
I take
yours. You're like you have a set that she's passed down to you that you kind of worked with in the shop, but she's like, you can take them out of the shop now. Go ahead, have these. Take what you'd like.
Thank you. Oh, Naten, so great. Okay, and then I'm just gonna kind of go about my life as usual until I'm set to meet these hooded folks.
So, the next week, you head into the alley, and as you walk into the alley, there's nothing really in the alley. There seems to be vacant. It's dark. It's like super early morning. You walking straight down the alley? What are you doing?
I'm gonna look around the alley and see if there's anything like weird about it.
As you walk into the alley, a blindfold, like a bag, goes over your head, and you're dragged into a cart, and the cart just takes off.
Try and get the hood off and like struggle.
They just say it's fine. Just we can't show you where we're going just yet.
Okay.
And what seems to be a hour ride or so, as you kind of relax, they get you off the cart. They walk you down an alley. They walk you into a room, and then doors shut behind you. And the mask comes off, and it's kind of bright for a second, just because your eyes have been so adapted to that. And then as your mask comes off, you see a individual in front of you. You see a what's his name? He introduces himself as Alston Buren.
Okay.
Goes, I've heard much about you, and we hope to have a wonderful relationship with you. We hear your skills can be very useful.
Thank you. I yeah. I will help any way I can.
And he kind of gestures to the back behind you. And as you turn around, there's a middle-aged drow woman, darker, like a purpley skin, bleached like white hair, and it's like tied into a braid over her shoulder. Dark cloak, similar cloak that you've seen and everything else. And she's like, "Hello, my name is," and what's her name?
Ari. Adri.
Adri. You tell me. You made it. You made it up.
Adri.
Adri. He goes, "Hello, my name is Adri. Let's get started." She has kind of this pep about her. So, over the next year or so, we'll say she's been training you in the art of roguery, and that's a word. Yeah. So, she starts training you, and she's kind of been your mentor. You are now level 3.
Oh. All right.
And then as she's training you, she kind of has been like teaching you some quips in small little arcane things. She teaches you. Oh, what did you do? What does she teach you?
So she taught me like some tips for being like more stealthy and perceptive and insightful. She taught me how to like truly go unnoticed and not leave any trace. And then for her like arcane stuff, she taught me this like poison spray. So I have like a very small little a hole in my hand and can like Spider-Man-y just go and like very discreetly just puff of poison spray will come out and I aim it at will be affected by it. And then, do you want me to go through like all the spells that she taught me, or just, like
It's a couple. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to get more.
And she taught me how to like really disguise myself to fit in various settings.
So she kind of she mentions to you you'll have to go through a final challenge. And in the final challenge, once you've escaped, in the kind of sets you back, and she kind of says it in a weird way. You may open this, and she hands you an envelope, and kind of she just like puts it in your pocket. And then at that moment, a bag goes around your head. And it seems to be almost like a bit now. Like after the past year, you're like, all right, fine.
All right.
But as you are, make a perception check.
Okay. 23.
So as the bag's going over your head, you notice that she's muttering some small language, and it seems to be like kind of the same muttering that she taught you with um teaching you all of these skills in the arcane arts.
No.
Um, so as you are kind of dragged into this room, you feel this wave of heat and kind of euphoria, and your world starts spinning, and you start seeing everything in a weird light. Despite you being blindfolded, and you hear in deep voices, and they're all familiar voices. As your world's kind of unfolding, it is forcing you in coercing secrets and flaws and like mentioning a series of mental kind of shoot, what's the word? Like mental experiences and traumas that you've had in the past. Do you say anything?
Just getting collateral.
You're what?
Said so she's getting collateral on me.
Mm-hmm.
I start a little teary-eyed as some of these memories are popping back in my head.
Okay. What kind of memories are popping back in your head?
The memory of killing that man,
Mm-hmm.
and like clearer now than it has ever been, and just like a wave of remorse kind of washes over me. And I think of I don't know, like little kid stuff growing up, of things like I stole, or like being like a bad daughter. And my family had a really bad crop. I had went into the village, and I did actually steal a lot of coin and food to help my family survive for the season. And I learned that by doing that, another family then went without food and coin. So feeling like guilt about that too.
Yeah. So after some time, you come to, and you're in a like a crate, like a box, but it has bars on the sides. It would be like a livestock box. And there's a lock on the inside. And make a perception check for me. It is dark and damp in this room. You seem to be like in a
13.
cellar. And across from the cell that you seem to be in is a set of keys about 20 feet away, hanging on a hook.
Okay. I am going to summon my mage hand.
Cool.
And have them go and pick up the keys and bring them to me.
Make a sleight of hand check.
Okay. 15.
Cool. You do it pretty gracefully. Tree has taught you well enough, and well enough that you can do that pretty slick and sly. There's not really a lot of jingle once you start lifting up the keys at the first call. Keys hit each other, but there's really no other sound. The keys are now hovering in front of you, with a astral hand behind them that you can only see.
Okay. And I'm going to take the keys delicately from the mage hand and try to start putting the keys in the lock to try and unlock the door.
Cool. You unlock the door, and you're more than welcome to step out of the cage.
Okay, before I do that, I want to like look around and see if I can see any like booby traps or like anything that might have been like not in my vision when I was in the cage before stepping out.
You seem to be in a cellar, in like a food store's cellar. And make a perception check real quick for me.
Nat 20 for 26.
Woo. So, with a nat 20, you seem to be in a basement and cellar. There is a series of barrels full of foods. It's like a larder. Next to the barrels, there are cases of wine that say have a stamp for Dask family. And make a history check real quick for me.
$10.
You recognize the name Dask, kind of with your time and your sneaking around. It's a noble house, but you don't necessarily remember what they did, like what part of society they brought. You just kind of mentioned that that it's like a noble house of the Tyran Empire. You remember going to there, visiting one of the Isles of Tyran, with all of the other noble houses on it, to kind of like sneak around and sulk about at one point. Skulk about at one point.
Okay. Is there anything in the cellar that looks valuable?
No. But there is there is a handful of wines and ales and casks and foods.
Okay. Do I see the ladder leading up from the cellar? Like a
There's a
door?
stairway at the end of the hall.
Okay. I'm going to make my way towards the stairway.
Should I? Make a Make a shoot. Make a history check.
Okay. Team.
1-5.
Yeah. 1-3.
1-3. You remember there was something you needed to do. But you can't think of what. Unless you can think of what. So do you head up the stairs?
Yes.
All
And
right.
as I'm walking up the stairs, I'm going to remember that I've been told to steal a very expensive.
We had a letter.
We have a letter. What's the letter say that I'm supposed to steal?
Check it out.
I'm gonna read that.
She gave you a letter and put it in your pocket when you left.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. Like reliving my childhood traumas and just feeling really guilty. All right, what's this letter say?
In real life, it was 5 minutes ago, but whatever. So you see the letter, and in the letter there's a note that says, "Place in Dask's drawer," and that's it. And then there's a series of sheets and notes, pamphlets and such. If you'd like to go through them, you're more than welcome to.
Okay, I will just kind of do a brief glance like an investigation, but like more of a perception of just like kind of looking at them and seeing what they appear to be, but not reading too far into it.
Make an investigation check, and I'll just keep that in mind when I set the DC.
Okay. 8.
Perfect for your glance. We don't see too much information. Words that you get the gist that these may be pamphlets and notes dealing with the Adrastian Empire.
Seems important.
And if you recall, the Adrastian Empire is no more. That's not a thing anymore. 50 years ago, things changed there. So, just before your time.
Interesting. Okay. So my training has told me not to read too much into things and to just kind of do what I need to do. So I'm going to put the papers back in the envelope and start to stealthily make my way up the stairs.
Make a stealth check.
Dirty 20.
Dirty 20. You head up the stairs and they don't even creak. You don't know if they're supposed to creak, but you're just fine with that answer anyway.
Okay.
So you head up the stairs, and you are sticking to the shadows and doing a very good job at it. You see down a hallway, there's a guard at what looks like a front door in a foyer area. And there's 2 rooms off to the left. The left and right. And then immediately to the right, there's an open door that is the kitchen. And there's currently a chef of some sort putting together foods. There seems to be like servers walking in as if there's like a catered party of some kind. You do start to hear music. There's voices in the background and a minstrel playing, but it's like a very light, like one person playing a harp, and that's it.
Okay. I am going to cast Disguise Elf and disguise myself as one of the servers.
Okay. So you look like one of the servers. Is there a particular server that you find that you're like, yep, them?
No.
No. You're just like, all right, cool. One of them. That's got to work. Like, all right, cool. One of them. That's got to work. Like, all right, cool. So, with Disguise Self, you can change yourself in your appearance wholly, but you can only be 1 foot shorter or 1 foot taller than what you are.
Okay.
And when you do that, there's like nothing there. It's just like a head on top of your head.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to pick like a really pretty like halfling. So I'll be like 4 feet tall, so a little bit taller than a gnome, but still short. Like beautiful halfling.
Yeah, there's a short server, but I don't think there's any halflings. And halflings are like shorter than gnomes by probably a foot. So.
Oh, never mind. Okay, so I'm gonna be
like 3-4 foot tall. Halflings are like 2, 3.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna pick like the short, pretty, like blonde, curvy server. I'm gonna disguise myself as her.
So yeah, what do you do?
So I'm gonna go pick up a tray, and I'm gonna like go into the area where the other servers are going, and see if I can like get kind of the layout of the house and where like the study might be, as I'm like purveying beverages and canapes.
Make a performance check.
13.
Oh. You do an alright job. You're like you're how hard can it be? You grab a tray, The chef isn't like even looking at you. He's just setting things on your tray and then sending you off to the next person, kind of filtering you in and out. And as you step out on the floor, there's a dinner party, and everybody is like pretty lavish, and people are taking things off of your tray. Everybody seems to be in a mask of some sort, kind of like a masquerade kind of party of that kind. There is a staircase leading up from the other side of the room that leads up to what looks like to be private quarters of some kind. There's another room that leads into a dining room. Make a perception check.
Okay.
It seems to be another room where a bunch of other people seem to be partying. And then there's across from the room, just at the bottom of the stairs, there's a small stage with a harpist, and then a series of bottles and wine, bottles of wine, bottles of beer, that kind of stuff that are laid about on cocktail tables. But everybody seems to be standing up, dressed up very, very fancy, very lavish. The stairway is kind of gilded as you go up.
Okay. All right. I'll go check out like that second room where people are like gathered and fresh tray of drinks and bring them to that room.
You walk into that room and seems to be like a buffet of some kind. There's a pig laid out, apple in its mouth, classic fancy dinner. There's a series of fresh seafoods, and you are in like you got the gist that you're probably on, like, the Dask family is on the island of Finis, the Isle of Finis, so you're in a floating island right now. So getting these kinds of things like a pig or seafood is pretty up there, pretty fanciful. These islands don't have a lot of room for crops. At least the Isle of Finis doesn't. Some of the others kind of are a little bit larger, but so yeah, it's a fancy, lavish kind of party.
Okay. I'm gonna look for a single older gentleman that's like a little bit tipsy and kind of like standing by himself.
You see, make a perception check.
Okay. 25.
25?
25.
Jeez, you see everything. No, you see one individual who is kind of leaning up on the table, or up against the wall, and he's hiccuping to himself, and he looks almost a little too drunk to communicate with anyone. There's one individual holding up a Styx mask, talking to another woman at one of the cocktail tables. There's one very husky individual who has a bear mask on, and he seems to be picking at the buffet style area. Along the buffet too, as the buffet ends, you see that there's a veranda of sorts, and it kind of opens up to the outside. And then to your right and to the right of that veranda, it enters back into the kitchen, so there'd be like a loop between these two rooms in the kitchen that you could go to.
I'm gonna go up to the heftier man in the bear mask and offer him a drink and like start flirting with him a little bit.
What do you say?
I don't know. Say, I love a sloppy bear. I lower the tray.
Yeah.
Don't it?
All right. And he kind of well, thank you, my dear. I do believe I haven't seen you here before, but have you tried these? And he holds up these like cheese, like they're like pastries filled up with like this cheese. Um, and he's kind of like snacking on them while he's sharing, like holding them up with you. And he is a sloppy bear. There is food kind of flying from his mouth onto his plate. But he's very flattered and kind of like, someone is paying attention to me. I came here for the food. That mentality, he doesn't say that, but kind of astonished a little bit, but definitely into it.
I'm gonna eat one of the cheese puffs and go, I've heard there's some really fancy chocolate in the study that they're saving for later. I don't know if you're in the mood for something sweet, but I could go for a little treat right now if you want to go with me and show me and not show me where the study is. I'm going to stop talking there.
He goes and choking on his food. Well, dessert is doesn't ruin any meal. And he kind of pulls himself upright, and he goes to hand his plate to a server, but then realizes you're a server. So he goes, well, do you mind? And goes to hand you the plate that he was eating off of, so that he is hands free, that he can then show you this to run away with you in some room.
Okay. Meet you in the hall. Put this down. Meet you out there so we can go get our sweet treat.
All right. So you head. What do you do with the tray?
I don't know. I just like put it in the corner and kind of like kick it out of the way of anybody or the view.
You see him make his way to the bottom of the stairs. And he's a shorter guy, and you're a shorter gal. So he's like kind of like looking over the crowd of people, stepping up on a stair or two, looking around, licking his fingers.
So I'm going to quickly make my way over to him and say, we need to be a little sneaky because they're saving this chocolate for later and we don't want to get caught.
Yes. Well, let us sneak, my dear. And starts to slowly take one step at a time, like back up against the wall, and kind of takes a step up the stairs, and he just kind of rides the railing up with his back to the railing the entire way, just kind of taking one step at a time and then looking around. Do you follow suit?
Sure, because I feel like he would probably like me to think that he's like taking the lead on this. So I'll placate his male ego and I'll let him show us what we're doing.
Make a I don't know. Make a stealth check.
Okay. 15.
You guys slink up the stairs. Nobody's really paying attention to you. It's not necessarily the stealthiest thing you've done, but you're kind of out in the open, just slinking away. Yeah. So you guys get up to the stairs, and he kind of waddles into one of the rooms. What would you like to do?
I will follow him in there.
All right.
And I'll check to see if it's the right room, if there's a desk in this room that he's let us in.
There is it's like not quite a study, but it's like a sitting room or a lounge or like a den. And then you notice, make a perception check.
Okay. 16.
1-6. 16. You see, there's like a leather armchair. There's a library wall. There's a fire going. There's a handful of other side tables, kind of like a den, a lounge. And then off to one of the behind the chair and next to the fireplace, there's a room, a doorway that leads out. And then from the angle that you can see, there's seems to be like moonlight coming in from there, so there might be windows in that room.
Okay. Doesn't look like there's any chocolate in here. It might be in that room through these doors.
He goes, "Oh my dear, but you're sweet enough." And he kind of goes to grab at your face as he's licking his lips to go in for a kiss.
All right, I'm gonna put him to sleep. I'm gonna use my second spell, cast sleep, and put him to sleep.
All right. So as he goes to grab your face, remember your face a foot above you isn't real. So he goes to grab your face, and his hands kind of clasp together through what would be your face, which is just above your head. And you take a sidestep, and he falls flat. It does kind of make a little bit of a sound.
Oh.
But he is out.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna pause for a minute and listen to see if I hear anybody like coming up the stairs or into the room.
You do not.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't hear
I'm gonna
or anything.
I go in the room that's attached to this room to see if that's the study.
Make a perception check.
All right. It
is the study, or a study. There's a desk. Without investigating any further, you see a desk. You see two not lounge chairs, but like love seat chairs that are facing each other with a coffee table that you could maybe have like a sit down meeting with. There's another fireplace behind one of those, and then at the end of those, you've kind of come into the back of the room. So there's a library shelf on your wall that's you're not facing. And then off to the right, there's a double set of doors that would also seem to lead to the hallway that you just left.
Okay. I'm going to make my way to the desk and try and open the top door, or top drawer, not door.
Make an investigation.
Desk. Okay. $12.
We will never forget when domestic terrorists.
There's a top drawer, for sure. You start tugging on them, and they all seem to be locked.
All right, I'm gonna try and pick the lock.
All right, make a dexterity check and add your proficiency modifier, your proficiency bonus.
$18.
As you go, this one it does have tumblers to it, so there's a specific lock to it, and you hear the snap of the lock as it opens. And do you open the drawer? So you open the drawer, and there's a series of documents and itinerary there. Just kind of seems to be like your daily thing, what goes on, day-to-day kind of stuff, important stuff that a nobleman would need to know about the government and going-ons in his district. And then there's a bill for the wine aspect of the party, and there's a bill for the catering, and you can kind of see some bills. You can see some documents and letters to separate names with a stamp of the island of Tyrion stamped onto it. Yeah.
Okay. Um. Hmm. No, I'm going to leave the sealed documents. I'm just going to slip the documents in that I was given
Okay.
and close because then somebody will know that I was there because I don't know. Is there like a wax seal nearby? I see.
No. I mean, there is one,
Okay.
but it is, make a investigation check.
13.
There's a wax seal on the table, and there's wax next to it, a wax candle to drip.
Okay. I'm going to open one of the sealed letters.
All right. You open one of the sealed letters, and you remove the seal with the fanciful T, the wax seal on it. You remove that, open up the letter, and it is a document from uh, from sorry, 1 second.
Okay.
From shoot. From Boren Cornwallis. On the from Bourne Cornwallis on the assembly of from the assembly of Tyrion. And it's a letter regarding a number of resources and documents retrieved from Shield hands from the Anchor of Bryn and the Anchor of Bryn and the Anchor of De Grey. And there's a list of what looks like to be needs, or at least what Boren Cornwallis is asking for. And on that list, you see a number of minerals, common things, this much gold, this much that, and then you see definitely some words that you're not necessarily familiar with. Make a Arcana check.
At 20.
So you yourself are not familiar with these materials, but you've heard Adri mention them. And the terms are not. It says so much this, so much that: gold, silver, platinum, tin, copper. But you see the words, 13 pounds of mithril, 5 pounds of resmil, 10 pounds of esmite, 50 pounds of adamantine, and then 6 pounds of morning steel. And you see all these other types of things, as well as powders and other things that you would have learned in terms of poisoning, herbs. But yeah, it seems to be a letter that is like, these are the things we need from Anchor de Grey and Anchor Bryn. We expect them on, and you see a date 2 weeks from today. And in it is, or it says, I'm sorry, did it say, yeah, it says from Born Cornwallis, and it says to Gregory Dask.
Okay.
And you kind of, you understand that is the Dask noble house is where you're at right now.
I just kind of like make a mental note of that and put it back in the envelope and seal it up with the wax.
Make an investigation check.
It's the wrong seal, isn't it? Because it was a letter from, oh no, dirty 20.
As you stamp the wax down, you notice that the stamp, and you remove it, leaves a flourishing, very artistical D on the wax seal.
I'm just going to tuck that letter like underneath a bunch of the other papers, including the paper that I am putting in there.
So, you've successfully put the papers back where they're at. What would you like to do?
I'm going to close the desk drawer and lock it.
Okay. Find a hand check.
$16.
You can successfully lock it back up. What would you like to do?
I am going to look out the windows and see how high up I am. If I can gauge if I can scale down the windows.
You seem to be on the second floor. There is, it's not scaffolding, but there's like crown molding, I guess would be the term, that is up along the, I guess it would just be molding. It's not like that fake wood stuff. But it is like molding for the building itself. Make an investigation check.
12.
It seems scalable. You're on
Okay.
the second floor.
I'm going to try. All right. I'm going to try and scale down the side of this house.
All right, make an athletics check.
Oh. Oh.
As you are scaling down, it takes you a while. It takes you some time. And as it takes you some time, you can hear some people above you on the second floor. And the party's still going on, but you are like grabbing and carefully stepping because it's not like, and your hands start to shake a little bit as you're holding on to the side of the wall, and you are scaling the side of a building down to get to the second floor. So it takes you about 5 minutes, and that doesn't seem like a long time, but it's a long enough time that you hear people upstairs, and there seems to be some kind of commotion upstairs.
Mm. Do I hear any of what is being said upstairs?
Make a perception check.
21.
You hear two individuals talking to each other, and because you're outside of a room, and then these other individuals are in the other room, so they're probably standing over the body you put to sleep. But you hear them say no one was supposed to come into here, but at least he looks dead drunk. And you that's, for the most part, all you kind of get out of the gist of the conversation, between what you presume are two guards.
Right. gonna continue on down until I make it to the ground.
Cool. So as you get down to the ground, you are in the gardens of the Dask household, on the floating Isle of Finis. I assume. I mean, what would you like to do? You were kind of thrown into this.
Was there anything in the letter about like where I should go once this mission is completed, Adri? Like
We'll say that
ascending stone?
we'll say you have a sending stone of communication.
Okay. I'll take
that leads to Adri, and Adri has one that leads to you, and it's like that's the gist of how communication usually is working.
Okay. So I'll take out the sending stone and say it's done.
Your response is very good. Head 2 blocks down, 2 blocks south, 1 block east, and step into the Lords of Lavish Inn.
Okay. I'm gonna transform myself back to like my normal Narnip self from the waitress my way to the inn.
You are walking down the street of this noble kind of neighborhood, and you have you are in your roguery garb, walking down the street. Make a performance check.
Oh. 3.
You definitely get some, like, there's people that are like kind of a fancier part of town. It's like a gated community town, and you are dressed in black. A small little gnomish gal with 2 daggers on your hips. You're not blending in really well, but you are able to successfully get to the Lords of Lavish Inn, and but not without getting noticed. Again, that seems to be like your MO.
Oh, okay.
So we'll say, for the sake of that, you meet your contact. They're able to take you back to the guild, and after some time of guilding, you start to learn some of the things that you've impacted. And over, like, let's say over 6 months, you've been doing various things with Adri, and you definitely are, a full-fledged member and treated as such. But over time, you've learned that the Dask family was accused of loyalty to the Drassian Empire, and that they were removed of their titles, and a family that was scorned and exiled from the Isle of Tyrann. You learn that that's the big one. What else do you learn? Do you learn anything about your floppy bear? Or do you learn anything about the chef? The Dask family did say that they were set up. They believe that they were set up, and that they have evidence as such.
Oh. Do you hear of any of like what the evidence is?
I mean, this is like through you kind of hearing, like, it's all hearsay kind of. Nobody's given you intel from the Thieves Guild. They've just kind of mentioned, like, you hear this in passing. You hear it through the streets. There was a sending stone. In the Isles of Tyrann, there are these enormous sending stones that almost act like a soapbox, but they are set messages from the Magocracy that runs the Isle of Tyrann. So before they had these sending stones that were a personal sending stone that you use now, but they've taken that technology and manipulated it into being a instead of a what is like a news seller, like a newsy boy on the soapbox saying extra extra. These types of things are cast over these large sending stones, which live and reside throughout the Isles of Tyrann.
Okay. All right. So I also learned that the Dask family was like very kind, and they employed a large number of people to help them with like their groundskeeping and like their cook and all these other folks that they have since had to let go, and those folks haven't been able to find other employment because they've also been disgraced having worked for this treasonous family. Floppy Bear, he's fine. He's a middle-aged white dude that got too drunk at a party. There's like no consequences for him. He's fine.
Classic.
I think that's like the only. Oh, and like the guards also all like get fired and stripped of their title because they were believed to be like protecting the treasonous family.
Who did?
Yes, the guards that were like there.
Yeah, that's cool. So we are going to take a short 2-minute break, 5-minute break, whatever. I just need more water, really. And then we're going to pick back up with you at level 5. So if in the short break, if you'd like to level up to level 5, we'll pick up from a year from that moment that we just kind of played through, and then see what Narnip is doing, and then how we're going to kind of fold into what's going on for tomorrow, actually, which is going to be our session 1. So, cool. Okay. We'll see you soon. Please stick around. All right. Welcome back. My name is AJ, and this is Gina, and we are going through the background story, kind of doing a little experimental thing. At least I haven't seen it before. Taking Gina through her character of level 1 through 5. Our last campaign ended off at level 5, and we kind of just we're still learning, so we kind of want to start there and see what higher levels are about, and we'll just kind of keep doing that. So that said, we are going through Gina's character Narnip, a rogue gnome, and she has, being a rock gnome, she has a little bit of tinkering in her background. We kind of played a little of that. She met her mentor and tinkerer, with whom she's kept in contact with over the years. That taught her a lot about her tinkering. She had a quite a moment where she was kind of lost her head a little bit and stabbed an individual in a bar. And when she stabbed this guy, it seemed to have gotten the attention of some thieves guild, which she joined willingly. So this accelerated kind of early levels. She had a mission that was kind of forced upon her as a rite of passage, so to speak. Not only was she kind of forced to give up some of her flaws and secrets and anything that the Thieves Guild may be able to hold over her, but also she was kind of planted in the midst of a dinner party, the basement of a dinner party, in which she needed to infiltrate and plant and / sabotage this family name, the Dask family. She planted papers that accused them of being loyalists to the previous empire, and they were removed and stripped of their titles. I guess, yeah, like you have gone from this spiral, basically, of you stabbed somebody to doing some things that has definitely made some waves, made some ripples. I guess in a broader scheme of things, we're gonna see how you kind of land and get in the area of joining the rest of the party, which we will start tomorrow at 1 p.m. So Gina, if you don't mind telling me, what exactly is Narnip level 5 doing right now? Where's her headspace at?
So Narnip's been having like a real crisis of conscience, starting like pretty shortly after the dinner party. It really brought back memories of the time when she had to steal food from another family to feed her own during like a really bad harvest. And she's starting to realize that even though her intentions may be good or neutral, they can have really negative impacts on others. And she's wondering if the money is really worth it. And she's considering, a month ago, she really started to think about leaving the Thieves Guild. And her decision was really solidified when her mentor, Adri, started to express some like really concerning fascination with Lama Shaga, who was one of the like titans that she's heard tales of. Her family is terrified of Lama Shaga. And Narnip would kind of just like listen to them as kind of like stories, fairy tales. But Adri started to act like a lot different, and Narnip decided that it was probably about time for her to kind of bow out of the Thieves Guild. But one does not just bow out of the Thieves Guild, so she is like kind of underground at this point and trying to really not make too much noise. She's also trying to kind of like backtrack, right some of the wrongs, and help some of the people that she's hurt. the past few years, being with the Thieves Guild, and even before that, she kind of turned a corner and stabbed a man in the bar.
So, I guess as a member of the Thieves Guild, do you want to put out your feelers to see see where like the present situation is of the individuals that you've kind of affected?
Yeah.
So, let's do, I guess, who do you want to use your skills and your thieves network to find out about?
I'm just gonna go back to like the beginning. She wants to find out about the guy that she stabbed. She doesn't know if he lived. She doesn't know if he like was married, if he had kids. She just knows he was like a drunk, loud guy at the bar that poured a bunch of beer over her head and offended her.
Okay.
And that seems like
But
just fix out of all of the people that she's wronged, because the other people that she like stole from were like higher up folks that it's probably going to take a little bit more effort to rectify what she did.
So we will say that the response that you get from your network about that is that there was a family that the individual that you stabbed and killed in the bar had.
Oh no.
He had he was on the older side, probably like as a human male, 60, 70, not 70, 60, 50, 60. And kind of you know that age. We've all dealt with somebody in their 50s or 60s right now, and we all know the type of person that they can be occasionally. And so yeah, he had a family. He had a wife. He had and two daughters. One was probably about your age, and then the other was a little bit younger, like teens. As far as how they're doing, I mean, he was the sole income of their household. As a big burly kind of guy, he was able to work as a hand in the fields, and then also as a helping hand at a local smith.
Okay. All right. All right. Are there any murmurs of like shops who are being kind of sketchy, or like wealthier individual or shady, that like it wouldn't be that big of a deal if I stole from them?
In that area, if you head back to the city of Bryn, the Anchor of Bryn, there are their house is actually in the Priest's Valley, the district that you kind of bought some textiles from. It's not that same family, but they're a lower income kind of household, and they're definitely some shops in that area. One in particular is a rare goods shop that kind of asks a lot of. They have higher priced items and higher priced things, and then rare goods that individuals want for whatever reasons. Usually, it's like rare herbs or like small gemstones or like that kind of stuff, but it's never like magic items or anything like that. It's just kind of things that an alchemist or somebody might use in a potion or something like that. Kind of hard to get stuff.
Okay. All right. I go to that shop and like scope it out.
Okay. So you see a it's in that district too, and again, that district isn't doing that well, but there are occasionally a few of these shops that are kind of in that higher tier, higher kind of stuff. There are also those a number of temples. So they would probably usually go to this individual to get like herbs for a sensor, that kind of stuff. So there is a you can walk up to that shop. Again, it doesn't look super disheveled, not as much as the rest of the district. But it's a nicer shop, and as you've kind of experienced with this district and with some of the poorer parts of the Isles of Tyrion that you've kind of explored through the Thieves Guild, you notice that the sign out front does not have any letters on it. It's just a bottle, a flask, and then a set of herbs that are kind of on a cross. Like the neck of the flask is crossing with herbs.
Okay. So I'm gonna go into the shop and look to see what like the layout is with the intention of coming back at night and stealing stuff. So like look to see like what security might look like, and then just like see where like the higher end goods are kept so that I can get like in and out as quickly as possible.
Cool. So as you head in, there is a older fellow, kind of chopping up herbs and weighing them on a scale, behind the counter. He's kind of like a quirky old guy. It seems to be a weird thing with this city, is a bunch of quirky people. But kind of weighing things out and very meticulous. He goes, "Oh, yeah, customer!" And he waves to the side, and he seems very excited about it. But the individual that he's waving to is a half orc that seems to be sitting, leaning his chair up against the wall in middle of a nap. And you're not sure if that nap was interrupted by this call out that there's a guest. But he's all, yes, the customer, and the kind of shrugs it off. May I help you, miss?
No, I think I forgot my wallet. I'll come back later, and I'm gonna step out because I realized that I should probably disguise myself before going into this shop, since I'm like running from the Thieves Guild and don't want people to know who I am. So I'm gonna dip out and disguise myself.
So as a I believe as a that might just be a different rogue thing. What is it? Yeah, never mind.
You're looking to see if I had a disguise kit?
Yeah, and there's another class of rogue that can basically like hide their identity for like weeks in order to infiltrate. I think it's the assassin that can do that, but not you, unfortunately. You wanted to be magic and fancy.
Yeah.
I'm going
to use one of my spell slots, and I'm going to disguise myself as one of the monks from one of like the nearby temples. Shop there.
Okay. So you describe, is there a specific temple in mind? If that's too much on the spot, that's understandable.
I'm gonna disguise myself as a worshiper of Cord, because I met in my travels that was very vocal about his allegiance to Cord, so I feel like I could maybe get away with trying to bullshit a little bit about this religion that I'm not part of.
All right, cool. So you walk back in, dressed in the black and blue colors of Cord. And it seems to be like a large one-sided sash that flows into the robe with blacks and blues accented around it. But yeah, so you walk back in as this monk of Cord. You see him rise up, and he goes 2 in 1 day, and he's hitting the orc, and he's very excited to see someone else in the shop. So yeah, he's waving at you. Wake up!
Praise
And he
Lord.
shrugs him off.
Praise be to Cord. Good day. Good day.
Good day, good day. What can we do for you?
I am looking for some very fine goods to make an offering to, the wondrous god Cord.
Yes.
What goods might you have that would please him?
Goods that we would have to please him. Well, Cord's about the storms. We don't really have any. There's not any herbs or anything for storms. I do have. I have a rare gem somewhere, and he kind of starts scurrying through and all of his cupboards, and he goes, this piece of metal has been struck by lightning.
How much do you want for it?
With this type of divinely struck energy, I would imagine we could not leave it for no more than 30 gold.
All right. Would that be like an investigation check to like look and see how much it actually is worth?
If you want to look to see how much it is actually worth, I would say an investigation check. If you want to see if he's trying to fix the price, I would say it's an insight check.
All right. I'm going to do insight check. Okay. 13.
It seems like it's a pretty reliable thing. He seems sincere about it. He seemed to find it real quick, and it does in fact look like it was struck by lightning.
Okay. What else do you have?
Cord again. Cord is about strength and prowess. And he goes, and you see him just kind of not even mention to you, but walk right into the back. And he comes back out with what does he come out with? He comes back out with a small vial, and it's like a greenish brown with a brown swirl flowing in the inside of it. And he goes, "Well, we have this."
What is it?
Oh, yes. Well, it is in fact a potion that will make you very strong for a temporary amount of time. Yes.
How much do you want for this?
How much do we want? Well, I could probably sell it for no more than 100 gold.
Wow. Check. Roll the 12.
I feel like 100 gold might be a steal for that.
Okay. All right. 130 gold for this piece of metal and this strength potion. What else do you have?
Well, we have assorted herbs from far lands. We tend to hire the shield hands when they go out on their whatever they're doing, and we ask them to pick up anything and that is of value, and I buy it back from them. So,
What does the most herb that you have. We are praising Cord. We are trying to make it rain for him.
So he goes, well, that would be this, and he points up to the there's these what look like rose petals, but they're constantly flowing inside this jar, and as they flow and float up, they ignite and then turn to ash, and then the ash falls, and then as the ash settles, it settles back into a petal form, and then it floats back up. So there's these petals that kind of are floating and swirling in this jar, and they are constantly igniting, burning, and coming back to life.
How much do you want for that?
Well, how many would you like?
How many do you have?
Well, there are 5 phoenix flower petals. I have 5 is my answer.
Like all 5.
Okay, all 5.
All 5.
That will be and he kind of pulls out an abacus for a second. Yes, that will be 5,000 platinum.
Well, a good man. I do not carry that kind of money on me. Would you do me the favor of holding on to these items until tomorrow morning, and I will be back at first sunlight with 130 gold and how many platinum did you say?
5,000.
5,000 platinum. Put these in a secure location, and I will be back tomorrow morning. I want to see where you're putting them to make sure that they are safe. Please show me where you are going to put them to make sure that they are here tomorrow when I come back.
Well, I don't put them anywhere else. I keep them out here. If you could, I hide them, and then we have Gork here. He's very useful in preserving all of my goods.
If I look at Gork, does Gork look like a pretty astute, observant fighter? It look like
he's a big dude, and he's got a battle axe on his hip, but he's asleep currently.
Okay. All right. Well,
he kind of just leaning up there, and he's just tusks sticking out, and he says, "I keep telling you to call me Philip." Seems like Gork might be his last name.
Okay. Right. Well, my fine sir, I will be back tomorrow morning at first light with the money for these very fine goods.
Very well, very well. See Gork 2 in one day.
All right, and then I'm going to leave the shop
Cool.
and wait for nightfall.
Cool. All right, so you leave the shop. What are you doing in the meantime? Are you waiting outside, staking the place out, or?
Have I located where the wife and children, or the widow and the children are?
Yeah,
I know where their house.
yeah, you got their address.
Okay. I'm gonna go back to the bar where it all happened. Just to close the circle.
Classic criminal, and they always go back to the scene of the crime. All right, so what you just gonna head to the bar? Are you gonna stay in disguise? Or...
Yes, I'm gonna stay in disguise.
Okay. So your disguise self, I believe, lasts an hour. If it does not, please let me know.
That's a good question. Yes, it lasts an hour.
Okay. So you, how many times do you gonna cast it more than once? Are you gonna, because you got a few hours till middle of the night.
I'm just gonna go in as Narnip.
Okay.
This is like my self.
I mean, this is like what, like 5 years ago now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, you walk in and you grab some drinks, and no one seems to pay you mind. They kind of time goes by for a little bit, and night falls, and the bar kind of clears out, but it stays open because it's just kind of one of those bars. Um, at a certain point, it's just you and a bartender.
Haven't been back here in some time. Place looks about the same. Has any news of any happenings?
I mean, I guess it depends on how long time.
Oh, like 7 years?
Well, oh, I believe you'd have a lot of time to catch up on then. 7 years? Oh, well, about 6 years ago, we got a new owner. He's been running this place for 6 years now. I guess that's interesting. I guess I started working here shortly after that. Uh, there was a stabbing here at one point. Um,
Oh,
sorry. Yeah, a guy died. Um, After that, there was a shakedown. The group of guards about a year after that came in here looking for somebody. I don't know. He turned the place inside out. And that was about 4 years ago now, and said they were looking for, I don't know, some smugglers of some kind.
hmm.
And then shortly after that, and when we got our new Calda, you know, and you'd recognize Calda as the term for like mayor, like city holder. And so he mentions Calda Bryn, who's of the Bryn family that owns this town all the time, but it was kind of a big deal because she married in to the family. So she married into the title of the noble house Bryn, and was not it was like a kind of a taboo because she was not technically a Bryn, but yeah. And then we started serving spirits. So if you want a whiskey, we have whiskey now. Some places have been nicer around here lately. There's a shop down the street that opened up. I mean,
What is that shop?
anything you want to know? Just kind of telling you the history and what he's seen. It's like if you went to a bar and you said, "Hey, what happened in the past 7 years?" They'd be like, "Yeah, I don't know. You want a beer?"
What do you think of the mayor? Calda.
She's great. Yeah, she's been super helpful and kind of putting a little bit more money into this district, which is nice. Yeah, she's good people. You know, it was kind of a hiccup when she first came in, but you know, turned itself around. It seemed to be a pretty good thing. You know, not being a Bryn, but you know, she took to the name really well.
Okay.
Haven't had a whole lot of
All right.
smuggled troubles lately, but yeah.
So, what did you hear anything else about the smugglers that the guards were looking for? Like, what were they smuggling?
I don't know. They thought we were a point of interest for them, or a smuggling den of some kind, or we were holding some product or anything. So they came in, they flipped the place over, they didn't find anything, and they left. But yeah, the smugglers, I guess, I don't know, just looking for smugglers. I don't know them. They didn't find anything. We're not the smugglers. What are you running? Some kind of investigation?
No, I think I've probably just had one too many of these, so I'll pay my
Okay.
tab and be on.
Pays you tab, and he boots you out, and you kind of see the lights turn off as you leave. So, like, clearly you were kind of keeping him there, I think.
All right, I'm gonna make my way back to the shop and be very in the shadows and
Make a
in
stealth
as I
check.
make 12.
All right. You're decently enough hidden. You're not super sneaky. If somebody was walking down the street, they would maybe have seen you if they were like really trying to look for you. But anybody that's walking down the street is kind of drunk right now, anyway. So, yeah. Other than that, I mean, it's just kind of, relatively easy for you to do so.
Okay. So when I get to the shop, is there like a back door or like a window that's not like facing the street?
It's so there's a second story window, and there's no windows, but there's small little alleys that shoot on either side of because it's like in the middle of the street, and then there seems to be a back alley that runs behind all of the buildings that leads up to the next one. So there might be a back door. You'd have to go investigate that, and then there's a second story that has windows, but not on the sides, just on the what you would assume is the front, and then possibly the back.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna go around back and see if there's another door.
Cool.
To gate.
There is another door. There's also another set of windows on the second story. This like an alley facing building. It's not going to be. There's no awning or anything else like that out front of it. There's no signage. It's just kind of like a flat door with a small little awning over it and a torch light on the outside.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna see if the back door is unlocked.
It is not.
All right. I'm gonna try and pick the lock.
Cool. Make a dexterity check and then add your proficiency modifier or your proficiency bonus, please.
21.
You successfully pick the lock. No problem.
I sneak in and like creep along on my kitty cat paws, not making a noise.
Your little Nomi cat paws. So make a stealth check.
$22.
You're able to sneak in. You see that the back door is kind of you're in a storeroom and there's all kinds of goods around you. It's a tight area and it's seems cluttered, but there's all kinds of baubles. There's a whole section with drawers full of like weird stones, and some of them just look like stones that might just be a weird shape. Some of them look maybe valuable. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go up front to where those phoenix feathers and the potion and the piece of metal all were.
Okay. So as you head to the front room, 1 second. As you head to the front room, you see you see you're like walking into the back of the counter, and you have you see there is a sleeping half orc in his chair, fast asleep. And then in front of you there is it's like he didn't set them aside to do anything. They're just set aside. Like he didn't hide them or anything. They're just like on the counter, set aside for you. And then up above, where would be like right above the doorway that you are walking into from, you would imagine is the jar of phoenix petals, but you can't see up there. It's directly above you. You'd have to walk out further.
Okay. I am gonna like check and see if there's any like booby traps or tripwires or anything that would like alert, like wake this orc up, the half orc up.
Make a perception check.
Okay. 24.
Given your expertise and your experience, I would say that you do not see anything right now. But also, if you were to have placed something, you would have probably placed it on the doors and or windows. Make an Arcana check real quick.
Okay. $16.
You are also aware that there are some spells that act as tripwires for alarms.
Oh no.
But again,
there...
you would probably have placed those on the door and or windows.
Okay. I'm gonna work real quick then. I am going to cast the mage hand and have that go and grab the next petals and bring them down to me.
Cool. Make a sleight of hand check.
Okay.
Sleight of mage hand check.
18.
You are able to reach up and it kind of grabs the bottle almost like a crane game and then is able to bring it down successfully without knocking any of the other things that are on the cluttered shelves over.
Nice. Good job, mage hand. I give a high five after I take the phoenix petals out in my pack.
Which looks exactly like what you just did because it's an invisible mage hand. So it's perfect.
And then I'm going to grab the other two things off the counter as quickly and quietly as I can.
Make a sleight of hand check.
10.
You go to grab the other things off the counter, and which one are you grabbing? If you were to grab one first, what are you grabbing?
I'm going to grab the potion first.
All right, so as you go to grab the potion, your hand hits the top of the vial, and it starts going... And it tips over on the other side of the counter and breaks. At that moment, you see the orc next to you, maybe 5 feet from you, go, "Ugh. Oh, who's there? What is it? What are you doing?"
I'm casting sleep to put him back to sleep.
All right. Let me. I think sleep requires a save.
So I roll 5d8. The total is how many hit points of creatures the spell can affect.
Sleep's weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Roll 5d8.
Okay. Nope, I only want 5. No, go back down.
Oh, you can sleep like a bunch of people. Oh, that's nuts.
my gosh, I messed this up. I was trying to like add more d8s and then it just kept on going. So now I'm at 17 d8s and I don't want 17 d8s. So hang on.
We don't need that many. That's too many.
Too many d8s. 5 d8s. Okay. What the fuck? And then I tried to roll them and it just went up to 6. Okay, so I'm just going to roll them manually and add as I go because I can do that.
Yeah.
I'm an adult. I know math. Okay. Roll.
Start counting them as you roll, because we're gonna get to a certain point where you probably put this guy to sleep.
So 7, and then I figured out what I did wrong. So 7 plus 10, so 17.
Okay, he's asleep.
All of them were ones. Okay.
Yeah. Really, you had to roll a 12. So if you rolled all ones, it would have been
I rolled two 7s and 2 1s. Okay.
We're good.
Good. Oh, good.
You're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's asleep.
So yeah, all right. So he's back asleep and he hits the chair. I believe he's asleep for a set time period. No,
It's a minute.
Ooh. Oh yeah, man. That guy should have woken up. The sloppy bear probably should have woken up too. Whatever. He is out cold and falls back into a magical slumber. What are you doing?
I'm grabbing the vial and the metal as quickly as I can and putting them in my backpack and then making a beeline for the back door.
Well, the vial broke and it fell off the front of the counter and broke.
Okay, never mind. Then I'm just grabbing the piece of metal and I'm leaving.
Okay, cool. So you're out the back door. Make a acrobatics check.
Okay. 15.
15?
16.
16. So yeah, you're out the back door. You're pretty quick about it. As you are leaving, you see a torch coming down the alley with 2 other torches, and one torch is significantly shorter than the other, and they are approaching you in a very fast way.
I'm running away from them.
Okay. Make a stealth check.
19.
So as you're running away, you get about what's your speed? Pretty fast, right? 15. Jesus, how do you have 15 walking speed? That's insane.
Yeah, short little quick legs.
Well, you're like dashing, so you're taking 30 feet per second. So your short legs are going as fast as they short can. And as you're booking it down, you look back over your shoulder and you see the 3 torches turn and then walk into the building that you just left. It seems as if they did not see you.
Okay.
All right. So what would, now that Narnip is successfully out of harm's way, what is your plan?
Are there any pawn shops or like people who would be interested in buying these things that are not the shop that I just stole from?
Make a history check.
Okay. 10.
You can recall that there's a place in the Priest's Valley that sells and buys obscure goods, but it's the same place that you just left.
Damn it. Okay.
You stole such obscure things that you can only sell it back to the person that buys obscure.
Do I have I like know smugglers, right? Or like people who would be interested in these things that are like on the black market.
Am I forgetting? I want to see some skills. Maybe I just keep doing the same ones, I feel like. I know it makes sense, but make a Make another history check or an intelligence. Just do an intelligence check.
Okay. Six.
Your history. You, for the sake of it, will say that you kind of think about what he was talking about, and he said that he buys things from shield hands that go out and procure them for him.
Okay.
So, with a 6, that's all I'm going to tell you.
Do I know of like? It could be pretty easy for somebody to get up to like the floating cities, right? Like
there's like gondolas that ride the chains from anchors to so every time you've gone up to the floating cities, you've taken the anchor in Bryn, or you've taken the anchor in De Grey, which is another nearby anchor. There's 4 in their entirety, and each of them are changed to each of the islands, and then the islands are changed to each other.
Okay. Are there any obscure goods shops on the islands or any pawn shops?
Yeah, there's probably some shops up there, but I would imagine it's going to take you some time to get up there and do those types of things.
No, I'm not going to do that. I am going to go to the widow's house, and I'm going to write a note that says, take these to the whatever floating island is like closest and most likely to have a pawn shop.
Okay.
And sell. Do not accept less than 5,000 platinum for the Phoenix petals.
Okay.
Not let anybody know that you have these goods.
Okay.
Keep them secret. Keep them safe. Period.
All right. Cool.
I'm gonna like creep in through the window and just like leave the bag on the kitchen table with the note on top of it.
Okay. And one more time, what did the note say? Give me a rough, quick gist of it.
Okay. Take these goods and sell them on the floating island of Iron.
That's like all of them. The
Okay.
Isles of Iron are all of them, so that would suffice.
Okay. So take and sell these on the islands of Tiern. Do not accept less than 5,000 platinum for the Phoenix petals. Do not let anyone know that you have these. Keep them secret, keep them safe.
Secret safe. All right, cool. All right. So that said, you are currently in the city of Bryn. You have just stolen the Anchor of Bryn. You've just stolen a large amount of valuables from a local shop. And yeah, I think we can work off of this and where we're at for tomorrow, if you want to call it right now.
Okay.
Okay. Scene. We'll call it. So we will actually pick up tomorrow at 1 p.m., but we're going to pick up with the whole group, which is going to be super exciting. It's going to be our first session. So please tune in. Please check it out. I think we're having fun. I hope everybody else is having fun. In the future, I don't think we're going to do it tonight, but in the future, we'll kind of do like little sessions afterwards, and we'll just kind of break down like what everybody liked. I talked a little bit about it with Gina on the break while we were kind of getting ourselves situated, but if you want to just give us a quick rundown, like what did you really enjoy about tonight, and what do you think Narnip's plan is for the future?
I really liked just being able to like flush out her character a little bit more and like get a better sense of like who she is. she's going to kind of like continue on her path of like trying to set things right for like harm she may have done. So like making amends. And I think she's probably going to end up like, she's trying to make things right, end up making them worse and create this domino effect of like hurting more people when she's trying to help the ones that she hurt before. And it's just going to be like this continuing spiral of getting herself in a mess.
I mean, who knows? You stole the most expensive thing that this guy can sell. So.
But I heard he was shady. So.
From you?
I don't
know. Yeah. That sounds like you.
Shot for sketchy people.
That sounds like you. All right. So
you said this guy is shady.
Hey, it's just a shady part of town. Everybody seems shady. I thought he seemed kind of nice, but it was me, so who knows? So thank you all again very much. Thank you, Gina. Sorry, my dogs are going a little crazy right now. But yeah, thank you all very much. We will see you all tomorrow at 1 p.m. Tomorrow, Sunday. And then moving forward, we are hoping to do this every Sunday. I think usually 1 or 2 is going to be our start time, but we'll definitely post it and let everybody know. Cool. Thank you very much. And Canada, it's just ham.